I do need to preface this for two things. Number one, this morning I got trifocals. I didn't know they made such a thing, so if I'm looking like I can't see, I probably can't. The second thing is, we're sitting here getting ready to eat, and I lean over to Ella, my beautiful wife, and I said, which fork is which? And by that time, I'm threatened to get slapped. So Jason, my brother, drops the smallest fork on the floor. And he told Daddy, he said, I solved my problem, and Kevin's got to solve his own. I did bring a couple of items with me that this is going to be interactive. And it's going to be interactive with Mom and Daddy and me, and it's also going to be interactive with you guys. So I'm going to show you an object. Did everybody see this? All right, on the count of three, I want you to tell me in one word what this is. 1, 2, 3. This is the hammer. This is not what Daddy used it for. If you will ask his brother on the mic, raise your hand on the mic. Good to see you, Susan. We had a small red hammer. This is what he used to discipline me with several times. If you notice on the top of my head, there's a flat spot. I couldn't find the red hammer. I think I threw it away when I was about 6 years old, but that's what this is for. So keep that in mind. All right, this is going to be a little hard. This is a two-word answer, okay? Everybody got it? All right, on the count of three, you tell me what this is. 1, 2, 3. This is a fly swatter. What Wiley used this for was when the hammer quit working, this is what I got hit with. I did not know you killed flies with this until I was about 14. I had no idea that's what use of it was. So keep that in mind. Can everybody see what this is? Can you read the name on it? No. All right, what this is hominy. All right? Hominy is terrible. Hominy is poisonous. Hominy tastes like, Dr. Goodman, how you doing? I can't say it, Ellen. I was going to say it, but that's a false way. I can't say it. The last time I ate this stuff when I was 10 years old, and I promised myself if I ever lived through eating this mess, I would never eat it again. If you've ever eaten hominy, God bless you, it's terrible. I hate it so bad I'm going to take it back to Dollar General before I get my money back. But that was something we made to eat, and it is bad. Poisonous, not good. Just remember that. Told you I was going to have fun with it. From the words of the late coach Jim Valbona, if you can laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, it's going to be something special. So we did a little thinking just then. We did a little laughing just then. I'm going to see if I can get the third one by the end of the night. What I did was, Daddy told me, he said, keep it 5 minutes or less. I said, man, I'm 42 years old. How am I going to do that? He said, just do your best. So what I did was created memories. And this is the interactive part with us, so some of this is a little sketchy. One of my first memories of him is when he was in the National Guard. And I remember being in a room, and I'm guessing that was Seymour Johnson or Seymour Johnson, where we lived in Goldsboro. And I just remember seeing him in uniform, and I thought, man, that's my dad. That's pretty cool, fatigues. I remember when he went to NC State, he was working on his master's. Mom and I are standing on a corner, and he rides by on this John Deere green 10-speed bicycle. Who knew they made bicycles, but they did. And I remember wanting him to stop, but he was going to class and couldn't. So I remember that. I can remember living in College Heights, which is a subdivision of Mount Olive, and we were playing softball. And then this is how smart the guy is, I guess, and me too. I was a little like him, and I can get away with it. We were playing softball toward the house. Y'all know what you're thinking. It happened. He pitches it. I hit it. We break a window. We're looking at each other. Mom's going to kill us. This is bad. This is not good. That was a memory I had. I remember when my dad turned 28 years old. We were at White Lake. I believe that's where it was. And the way I remember this so much is my mother had on a orange string bikini. Now mind you, about this time, 9 months later, this is where Jason comes in. But I remember his 28th birthday at White Lake, and that was really cool. About this time, we were in Whiteville, North Carolina. And Jason and I got a little age on us. We're not big guys, but we're figuring it out. We had a pop-up camera, and those were really, really fun times. I enjoyed those. We could take that pop-up, and Mama and Jason and I hooked it up. We would swing by the bank. The bank closed at 6 on Friday, and pick Daddy up, and we could be in Myrtle Beach, set up, ready to go. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, the wife and the 2 kids, the guy's supposed to be doing all this stuff, but he's busy. So the rest of us set it up. That was always pretty cool. Now we get to the part about education. Somewhere along the line, I fell off the NC State wagon, I guess. I didn't go with it. And I wound up meeting Ellen. We took classes at Pembroke for East Carolina, and everything was going well. And that was a conversation Daddy and I had, was the NC State East Carolina thing. And you know how you see shirts, ECU Dad, or you see ECU Granddad. Well, guess what? It ain't going to happen in our family. Because he's red and white all the way. But the genius of my mother is this, and this is my point. If you look in the house, if you look in the beach house, somewhere hid in that house is East Carolina pride. I love you, Mom. I have had the pleasure and displeasure of being married twice. First one did not go so well and wound up in divorce. But the good news with all that is my father-in-law was my best man the first time, and he was my best man the second time. And through that laugh, Ellen and that Will, and he's there. He was the rock. When Will was born, Ellen was diagnosed with something very, very nasty, far, far worse than multiple sclerosis. I called Daddy. Remember Jim Bob thinking, the laughing, and the tears, I got stuck. He was there. And I told him, I said, I don't know what to do. Multiple sclerosis, what the hell do you do? But he was there. And we got through it. And she's still with me. And he is too. So I'll finish with this. Excellent role model. Jason and I are very, very fortunate. Very fortunate. Got a good guy. Very good father. Very good role model. And we got I got 2 nephews, a son, and I got 3 nieces. And he's an excellent, excellent role model. And I leave you with Jim Bob words once again. My father gave me the greatest gift anyone could give another person. He believed in me. I love you, bud.
A couple weeks ago, I got a call from Wiley Mabe asking me if I'd make a few remarks at his Citizen of the Year function. I gladly told him I would, very honored. So one of the first things I did, I didn't know who the former recipients of this award was. And Wiley, you've got some big shoes to fill, son. I mean, when you've got the likes of Neil Cadew and David Burns and Russell Bennett and Robert Hutchinson and John Ford and Richard Conner and Wade Dunbar and John Garner, it is certainly a privilege and an honor to be held in esteem with those type folks. And I thought about those people, and Dr. McInnes, one of the things I've thought about is what a nice thing if we could reel back time to 1986 when you first started having Citizens of the Year. And if we could interview each Citizen of the Year, I'm talking about an extensive interview, and talk to them about how they got where they got, how they got successful, what knocked them down, what made them get back up. Put that in a documentary and have it for future students to refer to. Because this list of people has experience and knowledge beyond most folks' years. So I can tell you, I think this is one of the finest groups that have ever been honored that I've seen on a sheet of paper. And Wiley Mabe is joining that list tonight. So I'm not going to stand up here and talk to you for just a couple minutes or a few minutes about what Wiley's done. You can read the book and generally know about that. What really interested me when I saw this list and thought about it a while was how did Wiley get here tonight? And living in the LRB community like Wiley did, and being about 4 years behind him in age and in school, I had a pretty good idea of how he got here tonight. LRB in our youth was a very special place to grow up. Everybody sort of had your back. It was a farming community. We grew tobacco. We were pretty low-key about everything up there. You never heard a lot out of us. The amazing thing, though, is my next-door neighbor, when I grew up, Hugh Miller, had grown up ahead of me and was one of the key people working on atomic energy issues at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and later became very involved diplomatically and was knighted by the King of Sweden. And then about 3 or 4 or 5 miles up the road near Mount Carmel Church, there's lots of examples like this, but there was a man by the name of Mr. Aaron Parsons. Mr. Parsons lived a simple life, went to LRB school, and then became a member of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra for 30 years. Later passed away and was recognized as one of their greatest members ever. And then Bishop Simpson, about a mile from where Wiley grew up, we had our good friend Henry Fry grow up under the tutelage of SBT Easterling. And yes, the schools were separated, but Mr. Easterling ran a top-notch school. And the town of LRB produced the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of North Carolina. So when Wiley's sitting here tonight, there's things that I understand about why he's here. Because when Wiley hit the first grade, 4 years ahead of me, at that time, Ms. Butler and Ms. Robbins made sure that every single student that went through that school could read and write coming out of first grade. And yes, some of us read better than others. And if we did, we got put in a corner over there with a book to read more, while they helped the ones that weren't as fortunate as we were. And as we went on through school, as Wiley went on through school, I think he probably had Ms. Hayes in the 7th grade. Now you're talking about a lesson in character. Ms. Hayes was a riveter in the Norfolk shipyards in World War II. And she had shoulders broader than anybody I've ever seen, just about. And she had no discipline problems for Mr. Mabe or anybody else in that school. So I think that those type things, along with, obviously, I'm assuming Wiley, and I've not talked to Wiley about what I was going to say tonight, but Wiley, obviously, John Taylor, our vocational agriculture person, was a real important influence in your life, because you later came back to LRB and took his place in vocational agriculture. So Wiley Mabe is here tonight because the LRB community has a lot of special people and a lot of people that cared about you and and had your back. Obviously, he went on to state, and that was a big influence as well. But his education in those early years and influence, I think, are some of the most important things that happened to him. I had a personal experience with the other side of what I really think was influential in Wiley Mabe's life in a tobacco field in, I think it was late April of around 1970. My dad had sent me and James Boss to go pick up the 140 tractors because we had to go plow tobacco that day. And my dad told me, he said, we have a new person that's going to be overseeing the tobacco crop, and his name is Wiley Mabe, and you do everything he says. So James and I proceeded to the tobacco field, and it was beside the highway, and we met Mr. Mabe, and he got us to go a little bit sideways, and it was a little bit wet in places, and the tractor started doing this, like that, going out there on both the tractors, and coming back, I saw Mr. Mabe standing there just like that, looking at me, and he was mad. Good Lord, he was mad. I got to the end of that road, and Wiley's dad was looking at us and saying, what is wrong with you boys? And we just kind of shook our head and we said, well, it's wet, and we just couldn't do any better. And he said, well, if you're going to work for me, you're going to plow a straight road. I didn't realize how important that was at the time, but that day he taught me. A straight road in Ellerby was important because on the weekends, all the farmers would ride around looking at everybody else's crop. And if they rode by and your roads were crooked like that, you got talked about at E.E. Buncannon's on Monday morning. Wiley Mabe had a reputation as an excellent farmer, and he was about to have that happen to him on Monday just because some little snivelly-nosed kids weren't doing what they're supposed to do. So he proceeded to give us a hoe, each of us, and he said, I got to go to town and I'll be back. I want it fixed, and I want it right. And we took hoes, and we manually straightened out those roads. Over the course of that summer, I learned a lot from Wiley Mabe's dad. I learned what Wiley Mabe lived with. One thing I learned is you showed up on time. You showed up on time. You did as you were told. And once you got all of that lined up, and once you did what he asked you to do, then the pressure came off. But up until that time, the pressure stayed on you constantly. He was quite a taskmaster when it came time to get things done. I didn't know Wiley's mom that well, but I can tell you I've eaten at 5-star restaurants, and the last time I saw her, she had gone to the garden and picked peas and beans and corn and fed us a feast like I don't know that I've ever had to this day. A fine person. Fine person. So Kevin, you and Jason, I'm telling you, your grandparents are a big reason for the reason that man is here today. And when Wiley Mabe left NC State to become a teacher, and he was teaching at Ellerby and then Richmond and then down at Wayne County. He always continued his love of farming. And that love, I'm sure, led to him starting to work with Farm Credit down there. Wiley, over the years, has talked for hours and hours and hours about farming and has great friends all over the state. But what is important about that is this. Wiley understood when he came to Richmond County That was a time when the tobacco program was in flux. And Wiley was an influential person as a banker, both at United Carolina Bank and BB&T and then later Fidelity Bank. And he understood the problem this community faced with the demise of textiles and the phasing out of tobacco. And I'm not saying that Wiley was not just doing his job. He was doing his job as a banker by supporting the poultry industry. But what Wiley did as a banker, he loaned millions and millions and millions of dollars to farmers to convert to poultry production so that we could lessen the blow of the loss of tobacco and textiles in this county. How did he do that? He did it with his teaching skills, his farming background, and his good common sense of who he could loan money to and who he couldn't. If he is a protege of the E.V. Hogan style of bank lending, I remember him coming in the office one day and we had a mutual client that I was doing the paperwork for, and I said, wow, this is after we got everything done. I said, wow, don't you think that person might be a little risky? He said, no, sir. I said, well, how do you know that? He said, I know his daddy, I know his aunt and uncle, I know the whole family. He said, that family will do without a meal before they will miss a bank payment. That's the kind of banking prowess the man has had over the years. He made it a point to know everyone, and a lot of his decisions were based on that good common sense. In basically looking at Wiley over the course of his career, really and truly, Wiley has never quit being a teacher. He has taught his entire life. I've seen him explaining to people what they did not understand in terms so they could understand it. And he did it in such a way that was not demeaning and downgrading to people that could not help it. Wiley, I have to tell you that you, in the field of your life, you have grown an excellent crop up to this time. Your dad is very proud because you have plowed some very straight roads up to this point. I think that you need to understand, Dave, that just because you've retired from the bank and you've taken the tie off and you've grown your beard and you sleep a little later than you used to, that doesn't mean work's over. There's about 2 or 3 acres on the far side of that field that still needs to be plowed, and everybody in this room is looking forward to the time when you take it up and go ahead and get that accomplished as well. Thank you for a job well done and a life well lived.
One of the best parts of this job and the toughest parts is every year I get to provide some comments, but I always have to follow people like Kevin, people like Bill. And Kevin, that was one very touching. I couldn't figure out what the fly swatter was all about, but now I get it. So I'm walking on the fly swatter. That was wonderful. Bill, that was tremendous. I had to have a change of plans today, Wiley, because I had a wonderful speech prepared. We're going to talk about all the great things you've done for this college, and how you helped me become a better president, your work as a school board member. But this morning, all that got changed, because I received a letter that I've been asked to read to you, to the group tonight, from someone I know that you know, who would expect to have read, Senator Tom McInnes wanted me to send his regards. So if you'll indulge me, I cannot begin to do him justice as a speaker, but I'll try. Tonight is one of our most important nights of the year. It is the night when we recognize the Citizen of the Year. Tonight's recipient is very special to me because I have known him my entire life. From my first day of first grade, and he's trying to date you here, when Wiley was 5 years ahead of me, to my senior year when he came back to our beloved Ellerby High School as a professional educator with a college degree from NC State. From his days of inspiring young students at Ellerby, he was offered an opportunity to enter the lending field, where he again was a leader in his community, his church, and his field of endeavor. This wonderful opportunity of working in banking caused him to leave his native home and move to eastern North Carolina, where he continued to make friends, influence people, and make his community, his state, and his nation a better place to live. After making a difference in the lives of all he touched in eastern North Carolina, he returned to Richmond County, and he took the chance to make the best place to live and work in America. From his first day back in our county, Wiley grabbed the bull by the horns. His words, not mine, Wiley. I didn't say that. To assist homeowners in realizing the American dream of homeownership, to lift up those who stumble, and to teach our young folks how to be good citizens. Then in his spare time, became a member of one of our most prominent civic organizations, the Rockingham Rotary Club. Now, y'all might not know, but most of us do. Anybody that sampled his barbecue knows he's always been a gourmet cook. And any time the call went out, someone or some group needed to raise money, Wiley and his close-knit group, many of them are here tonight, answered the call. Years have ticked by. Today we find Wiley still working to make our community a better place to live. With his recent retirement, he now has the time to do all those things that you do when your retirement day comes. Now he has some assistance with 3 strong grandsons to help with Miss Judy's honeydew list. There's not enough time tonight to list all of Wiley's attributes or to mention the many acts of kindness that he's shown to all he's touched. But you can rest assured that when Wiley Mabe's feet hit the floor every morning, he rises with a purpose to make every day count and to somehow leave our community better than he found it. Wiley, I'm very proud of you and the many accomplishments that you have attained in your life. May God continue to bless you and your family. Best wishes from your former student and your current state senator, Tom McInnes. I have a copy of that for you. Wiley, in closing, you've made a great difference to our foundation, to our college. We hadn't even touched on your leadership of the school board. And a big part of the reason why we have such a great partnership is because of the work you've done on behalf of all of the students across the county. And last, Judy, thank you. Thank you for your support and for sharing Wiley with us. We appreciate you as well. So this time I'd like to ask our 2015 Citizen of the Year to come forward. If you'll join me in a standing ovation.
Thank you, Dr. McInnes and Bill Webb. Appreciate that. Kevin. Jason, I know you had a little hand in that. The hammer was real, by the way. It was not as substantial as this one. It was hot. My brother did not tell the quite truth of that. But anyway, I have my family with me tonight. My wife Judy, oldest son Kevin and his wife Ellen, their son Will, the youngest son Jason, his wife Christy, and Mr. Dexter and Mr. Gary. If you guys please stand for me. I have my sister Peggy, her husband Larry, my brother Mike, and his wife Becky, Lydia, Mabe, and her son Eddie, and I have Stanley McDonald, my nephew, Eddie McDonald, his wife Jamie. You guys can stand for me, please. Family is, of course, very important. It's the reason to get up and go. A little hard to talk. Bill Webb met my dad in the tobacco field. I wish I could have told Bill what was coming. There had been a plot thickening at the Webb household between Bill's mom and dad, trying to get young Bill to do better in college and to pick a career that they approved of. And so our dad had rheumatoid arthritis really bad, and when Mike and I got up and grown and away from home, he was not able to continue farming as he had. And so Ralph Webb knew Dad very well, and he said, Lehman, I got a boy that thinks he wants to farm, and I want you to come and help him learn how to grow tobacco correctly. Don't want you to miss any corners. Don't you give him any slack. I want him to be ready to go back to school come August. Daddy said, with pleasure. And if you've never carried aluminum irrigation pipe when it's 100 degrees in the shade, and that pipe's been laying on 120-degree sand, you can ask Bill. You don't want to hold it too long, but if you held it at all, it was too long for Wiley Mabe, I guarantee you. And Bill decided that the classroom at Wake Forest was a nice place to be rather than the tobacco field in Elgin, North Carolina. It's also nice to have friends that you can call on to help. Tommy Deese is one of the premier barbecue cookers in this world, and he's gave me a few pointers along the way. I often tell people the food that I like best to eat is cooked by two people. Number one is my mother. Number two is me. And you can look at me and tell I ain't missed 2 minutes. But Ann Mabe is really good. And I enjoy that. And it's fun for me. It's something that I can get wrapped up in. I can do pretty good with it. And I have a good time. I've met a lot of really nice people. I intended to come back to Richmond County and stay 5 years. I had moved to Kevin and Jason 3 times in January, school-age children. That is the worst thing you can do to a child, is move them in January. But that's the way we did, and I intend to stay here only 4 to 5 years and let Kevin graduate and then go on, but as things worked out, this has been home. And as I told a fellow several years ago, when I was offered a different job in a bigger city, I'm planting grapevines and I don't intend to move anymore. This is home, and I'm staying here. Education is key, folks. If we can teach a person to read, and a person learns how to read well, then they can pick up a piece of paper, no matter what's on it, and they can figure out what and how to do. And that is something that's a burden that's on all of us. Not just the moms and daddies, but all of us. We never stop learning as long as we live. And we've all got to try to make this place a better world for us all to live in. It's crucial to do that. I like to do things. I like to work. I get up early in the morning. My daddy was stirring sugar in his coffee at 4 to 5. The cup, the team, that sugar, that little spoon on the inside, my sister Peggy can tell you, my brother Mike. We didn't have an alarm clock. That spoon in that cup of coffee was first, when Judy and I first got married and we spent our first night back at home, Mom and Dad, Judy said, "What is your dad doing? It's 4 to 5. still dark outside. I said, he's up, and we're supposed to get up too. And she said, what in the world for? And Cleveland found the reason for us to be up early that morning. There's a couple of folks that work with me during the years that are here tonight, and whether it was with United Carolina Bank or BB&T or Fidelity Bank, and I just want 4 ladies to stand up. Miss Ellen Brown, Miss Martha Gardner, Miss Dean Monroe, and Miss Beverly Sweet. Where you at? No matter what I was doing, Wiley, you can't do that. Why? Well, you just don't do that. Well, let's fix it and make it right. I never had to worry. So I was able to get out and go and do other things. This is an honor. It's a very humbling experience. I do what I do because I enjoy it. I have a good time. I think that you're supposed to have a good time in everything you do. And when I was hiring people, I had a rule. And the rule was real simple. I want you to do the best you can while you work with me and have a good time doing that. And when it gets to the point that you can't do any one of those 2 things, you need to tell me so that we can make an adjustment. Because if you don't enjoy what you're doing and have a good time doing it, then that's a bad day and it needs to be fixed. I thank you all for coming tonight. It means a lot to me and my parents. Thank you.